Kaveh, I was reading your website and I was actually quite impressed.
Thank you very much.
With everything over there. But the quick question I have is that what are the two key policy issues that you will have during your campaign, for your campaign?
That's a good question. I mean, on the website that you mentioned, I mean, I talk about a number of different policy areas. But I think, you know, if I had to touch on a couple of things, and that was really the underlying theme of my speech. I'd say that the two key things that I'm really focused on are equality of opportunity and a more principled foreign policy. And what I mean by equality of opportunity, I mean, it's not just a vague term. I think you can probably make it much more specific in policy terms, right? You can talk about, you know, a more fair tax policy, so to speak. You can talk about building infrastructure. You can talk about transportation. I think transportation, for example, is a really important idea in order to ensure equality of opportunity. You can talk about, and I mentioned this in my speech, you can talk about something like, you know, a national daycare program. And I think programs like that allow young families, particularly women who are generally tend to be more vulnerable and more economically vulnerable. It gives those people a chance. It gives them a chance to kind of join the workforce, and it allows them to flourish and prosper. And similarly, you know, I talked a little bit about foreign policy. I mean, that's an area which I care about a great deal, in which I've worked, you know, both at the Department of Foreign Affairs, but also sort of in my personal capacity in a lot of the human rights work that I've done. You know, Canada used to be a leader in the world in terms of international human rights protections. The Ottawa Treaty, I don't know if many of you in the room know it. It's a famous treaty internationally for the lawyers in the room, you must know it, that banned certain weapons and landmines and so on. You know, Canada was at the forefront of that under a liberal government. Regrettably, you know, we don't take initiatives like that. If anything, Canada's become closed off to the United Nations. We don't, you know, even when a UN special rapporteur wants to come and visit the country, we stonewall them and don't allow them into the country. We have withdrawn from Kyoto, the greenhouse gas emission agreement. You know, I think that's shameful, and I think it really puts Canada on the wrong path. So that's really something that I'm committed to working on. So really, to answer your question, I mean, there's a whole host of different policy areas, but a couple of things that I would point to would be equality of opportunity and more engagement with the world.